Yesterday, Jagex announced that they will be rebalancing Animate Dead. I want to start this video off by saying I wouldn't panic too much about this, as I think it won't be completely worthless, and I do think it will still offer the entry-level ways into PvM that it currently does already. It is probably just not going to be as OP as it currently is. That being said, yesterday I did have a lot of players who are incredibly concerned, and in my opinion perfectly understandably, that when this change happens, they will no longer be able to PvM as they have been for pretty much the last 2 years. When Animate Dead released, it did give access to a lot of different content for different players, so I can totally understand where these players are coming from. So in this video, we are going to be pretending like Animate Dead doesn't exist, and I'm going to be showing you different ways that you can add damage reduction at the cost of DPS and kill times, which you've already accepted anyway, so that even if Jagex decided to remove Animate Dead, which they're not going to do, you will still be absolutely fine. Quick things to mention before we get started. The methods in this video are going to come at a cost of DPS. They're going to come at a cost of kill times. If you are currently using Tank Armor and Animate Dead already, then you are already accepting that you will be dealing less DPS than if you weren't. And so this video will follow that trend. The goal of this video is to show you ways to reduce incoming damage that you may not have thought of, so that you can apply these and make PvM more chilled and easy for you to do. This video isn't going to be for people who want to specifically learn and improve and become a good PvMer either. This is for people who just want to get kills and just want to have it easy. If you're looking to improve at PvM and actually get good kill times and stuff eventually, then you should be learning the normal ways of using DPS gear and not needing Animate Dead in the first place. That being said, there is nothing wrong with using these methods, in my opinion. Play however the hell you want to play, and don't let people tell you that you can't do something. Right, let's actually get started. Okay, so pay attention to this one because there's going to be a fair few numbers being thrown around. First of all, we're going to start off by talking about Crypt Bloom Armor. Of course, this was going to be included. It is going to be your majority way to actually reduce damage, but there's a lot of other ways as well. Now, Crypt Bloom Armor is quite expensive right now, but that being said, if you guys who are panicking about losing Animate Dead are panicking for a genuine reason and it does get nerfed, the value of Crypt Bloom Armor will take a fall because the value of it is going to drop. Less people are going to be bothered about it because they're going to think there's less use to it. And of course, that'll bring the price down, meaning it's more affordable. But we have to talk about it. It's too good not to. Now, the way Crypt Bloom Armor works is for 2 pieces of armor, you will get yourself 12% magic damage reduction and 8% melee damage reduction. For 3 pieces, you get 18% because you get a bonus, so 18% magic damage reduction and 12% melee damage reduction. Now, something that people don't use right now because the other spells are better to use is if you use earth spells with this, which I'm going to talk about very soon and specifically why, because I would suggest using this spell here, the Emerald Aurora spell, but we're going to get onto that next, okay? Bear with me. If you use earth spells with this, the passive effect to 3 pieces is doubled. This brings you to a 24% magic damage reduction and a 16% melee damage reduction. It shows it all here in the big text, but I'll just tell you instead because it's easier. This is a lot to take in. So if you are using 3 pieces of Crypt Bloom Armor and you have a earth spell tied to yourself, you're using earth spell as your main auto-casted thing, you will be receiving 24% magic damage reduction and 16% melee damage reduction. Nothing for ranged, but you still have tank armor on, so you will still be reducing your damage in PvE by 18% here. This is without anything to do with Animate Dead. You still have a good amount of damage reduction. So right now people don't take advantage of the earth spells, and it is definitely something not to forget about. If you are somebody who is only using 3 pieces of Crypt Bloom right now, which is probably most people because you will usually bring yourself along Blast Infusion boots and Cinderbane gloves, or maybe Carapace wrist wraps to get that extra bit of DPS out. If you do lose Animate Dead or you don't want to use it, then you can always just bring 5 pieces. This gives you access to the 5-piece effect, which is a fungal shield. Now what this does is when you drop below 20% life points, you'll get a fungal shield for 15 seconds. It basically just keeps you alive. It is like getting a sign of life that means you don't die, but it just gives you an extra shield. It is really good. This will save you in more situations than you can even imagine, and it does have a 120-second cooldown, but you shouldn't really need it twice in a fight. You'll be fine. So Crypt Bloom Armor is still going to be absolutely a massive part of this, and is definitely something not to laugh at. With 24% and 16% damage reduction across magic and melee, this is insane. This is really, really good. Okay, this next bit is something that I know a lot of players won't know about, and probably only because the people who will know about it are likely going to be higher level PvMers that read through all the spells because they like that sort of knowledge. And that is the Emerald Aurora spell that I mentioned earlier. So, like I said, Crippling Armor, if you are using an Earth spell as your main thing, and you have this as autocast, what's going to happen is you will have the passive effect of 3 set effect doubled, bringing you up to those 24%, 16% numbers for the effect of Animate Dead, right? Magic and melee damage reduction. Okay, so 1, you've used the Earth spell, and you are also going to be getting that doubled. This is something you can do. The reason I would suggest using Emerald Aurora if you're going to do this and fully commit to using Earth spells, which is rather expensive, don't get me wrong, to use this, it does cost 3 Earth runes and 1 Soul rune. But once you've done that, if you want to commit to it, you will lose a little bit of DPS because you're not using Insight Fear, you're not using Exannuate or whatever, but you can still get through the kill, and you're happy to lose DPS, right? Because you're more worried about getting through the kill and not being absolutely slaughtered. What Emerald Aurora does is as you use the spell, you'll see you get stacks up to 5 stacks here on the buff bar. When you get to 5 stacks, you are receiving an extra 5% damage reduction on your caster. Now, another thing you can do if you're versing a single target is you could use the Shadow Barrage spell instead if you wanted to. That way you're using blood runes and not soul runes, and this will reduce the target's damage by 5% instead. However, if you find more than one target, then the Emerald Aurora works better because it gives you the damage reduction and not the target. So the Emerald Aurora spell is incredibly good and something you can take advantage of. But one thing to note, and this is important, if you can Fortic auto attack, you can have the best of both worlds. And that is important to note, okay? If you want to use Insight Fear still, you can definitely do this, and you can Fortic with an auto attack the Emerald Aurora spell, and you will still receive that 5% damage. So you can cast it, and then you can Fortic it, and you will get the stack here that it'll keep it going. So as long as you are Forticking this and you cast it, you can have it on a separate keybind, so you don't have to keep it up. This lasts for 24 seconds per stack, so you don't have to always cast this. You can still use your blood spells in between. You can have these up and still use Insight Fear, still use Exannuate. You won't receive the extra damage reduction from using Earth spells. At least I don't think so. I am pretty certain you won't because it's not your autocast. But even so, you will still receive the extra 5% damage reduction from this. So this is still something to keep in mind as well. So Emerald Aurora spell. 1, it's Earth spells for Crippling Armor if you have it autocast. And 2, if you don't, you can still Fortic it and manually cast it yourself to get the actual damage reduction effect that it offers. It is something you can take advantage of. Some other things to mention that you can take advantage of too, and definitely should be doing if you are someone who just wants to reduce the damage you take and make it easier for yourself, is to grab yourself a defender and use this as a actual thing. It's not a defender, sorry, it's like a rebounder or something like that. There you go, Calfight rebounder. Grab yourself a rebounder. You can always camp this if you wanted to. Again, you will lose DPS, you will get slower kill times, but there's plenty of people that already camp these anyway. This gives you access to defense abilities that you would get with shield all the time. So you've got your reflect, you've got your revenge that you can use to get an extra bit of DPS out. You can use resonance, you can make sure your resonance is off cooldown, all that sort of good stuff. You get extra benefits from debilitate, you can use barricade, you get what I mean. Camp a defender if you wanted to. The next thing as well is to keep in mind that if you absolutely necessarily need to, in most situations, if the boss has no accuracy problems, this is like the Arc Glacier, you could take a Hellhound if you wanted to. You can take a Hellhound. This will then take damage for you, reduce damage you take, send it to the Hellhound. You can either heal it with the Prism of Restoration spell, or you can heal it with the scrolls if you wanted to. I would suggest using the spell if you can, but this will also reduce the damage you can take too. Hellhound, I would suggest not using unless you absolutely need to. Places like Zamorak are fine, your accuracy is not a problem, and like Arc Glacier is not a problem. But if you were doing like Telos, or something like that, I would really suggest making sure you use the right familiar, which would be a Nihil or a Ripper Demon, and making sure you boost your accuracy and stuff, because accuracy is really important. And if you are missing on the boss, then you're going to be in there longer, taking even more damage. So in that situation, Hellhound's probably not that big of a deal. The very final thing you can try out if you really want to is using Fortitude. Fortitude will increase your defense by 15%, and it will also give you a further 3% damage reduction. I wouldn't really recommend using this though over the DPS curses, because if you are losing out on all that DPS, you're going to be in the fight longer, which makes it more difficult. But it's still something, if you're super struggling, or you maybe want to AFK something, you can definitely still try this out. But the reason this is better than the DPS curses for defense reasons is it gives you defense across the board, whereas the DPS curses still provide you with defense, but only with the same combat style as the same. You may have noticed that I didn't mention auras in this. I personally think that auras should still be the auras that are best at the bosses. They're too important. If you need accuracy, then you can use the accuracy auras. If you need maniacal or reckless or berserk, these are still still your better auras in my opinion. While you do lose a bit of extra defense, the DPS you get is really important. And also, if you want to use Aegis and Vampirism, go ahead. But again, you're going to be losing a lot of DPS. I would still suggest using the DPS auras here. In most places, they really do shine. Okay, so now that you've heard all the different ways that you can actually add more damage reduction without Animate Dead, let's see it in action. You're going to see me here doing a Zamorak duo at 100% Enrage with Angel, as he had a couple of Reaper kills to do. This is a perfect example for me, as Zamorak hits with range and magic, and I wanted to show you guys that you can pretty much soul split the entire first part of the kill by using the methods we mentioned earlier. I have a Hellhound with me, I am in full Crypt Bloom, I am using the Emerald Aurora spell except for when I'm about to charge a pad, then I will swap to Insight Fear so I can use my Tsunami. After that I go back to using Emerald Aurora, and for this entire first part of the kill, I will barely eat any food. I think I eat a little bit once we've triggered the pad that hits you twice. But other than that, no prayer flicking, no need for food, no struggle whatsoever. This, of all places, is at Zamorak. This boss hits pretty damn hard. This is without mentioning that you can, of course, still use things like Debilitate or use Devotion and Correct Pray. And also, I would recommend that you do learn how to prayer flick as well. If you prayer flicked this boss, and you use the things that I'm using right now, you would literally have zero issue with needing food or healing or anything like that. Prayer flicking is a really, really important skill to learn, but if you can't do it, it still works. However, you would probably struggle with the last phase of Zamorak if you can't prayer flick, so I would recommend still learning how to prayer flick. I only use Zamorak as an example because he is a big, strong boss. But the point of this is, guys, if Animate Dead even got removed, which I still stand by the fact that I think it's just going to get a slight tweak to make it not so OP, who knows, they could be letting melee and range use it, but I don't think that's going to happen. Whatever happens to Animate Dead, you didn't even need it in the first place. That's the whole point of this video. You can still get the same sort of effects, you're just going to have to cut your DPS a little bit more than you were in the first place. But I mean, you're using tank gear, using Animate Dead, you're using all these other things. You've kind of already accepted that you were going to do that anyway. Either way, I hope this video was helpful for you guys. I know there's a lot to take in, so hopefully it was presented in a way that made sense. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments down below. Patrons and channel members, guys, I appreciate you so freaking much. You keep this channel going. You really, really do. So thank you so much to you guys. Your names will have been on screen through the outro. And if anyone wants to get some extra patron-only content, there's a link to my Patreon in the description. Chuck $1 over there and you can get access to some videos, and I'll be continuing to post Patreon only stuff there in the near future too. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate it, and I'll catch you all in the next one. See you later, guys. Bye.